You have probably heard the word paleo. You have probably seen the diet books, the meal plans, the before and after photos, the arguments online about whether ancient humans ate more meat or more plants. Everyone seems to have a confident opinion about what our ancestors ate. Almost all of those opinions are missing something important. The truth about what ancient humans actually ate before agriculture is stranger, more varied, and more humbling than any single diet book can capture. It is also one of the most revealing windows into human biology that science has ever opened. Because what our ancestors ate did not just fuel them. It shaped us. It shaped our teeth, our gut, our brain, our immune system, our relationship with hunger, with fat, with sugar, with salt. And understanding it does not just satisfy curiosity. It changes how you understand your own body and why it behaves the way it does. Start with the most important thing. There was no single ancestral human diet. This is the fact that every paleo influencer quietly skips over. Homo sapiens and our immediate ancestors spread across an enormous range of environments over hundreds of thousands of years. The Inuit of the Arctic ate almost entirely animal products: seal, whale, fish, fat, because that is what their environment provided. The Kung San of the Kalahari ate a diet that was roughly 60 to 80% plant foods. Hunter-gatherers in tropical coastal regions ate enormous quantities of shellfish and fish. Groups in temperate forests ate roots, tubers, nuts, berries, insects, and game. The diet varied radically by geography, season, and what was available. What this means is that the human body did not evolve to run on one specific fuel mix. It evolved to be flexible. It evolved to extract nutrition from an astonishing range of foods and survive periods of scarcity between them. That metabolic flexibility, the ability to burn fat when carbohydrates are scarce, to shift between fuel sources, to function across a wide range of macronutrient ratios, is one of the defining features of human physiology. And it emerged precisely because our ancestors never had the luxury of eating the same thing every day. But there are patterns. Across all the variation, certain things show up consistently in the archaeological record, in isotope analysis of ancient bones, in the study of modern hunter-gatherer groups, and in the evolutionary biology of the human digestive system. And when you put those patterns together, a picture emerges that is genuinely surprising. Meat. Yes, ancient humans ate meat. The evidence is unambiguous. Stone tools dated to 3.4 million years ago show cut marks consistent with butchering animals. Ancient fire pits contain the charred bones of large mammals. Isotope analysis of Neanderthal bones suggests diets comparable to apex predators, heavily weighted toward animal protein. Early Homo sapiens hunted large game: mammoths, bison, deer, horses, aurochs. Meat was calorie-dense, nutrient-rich, and critically important. But the meat ancient humans ate looked almost nothing like the meat you find in a modern supermarket. Wild animals are lean, very lean. The muscle of a wild deer or bison contains roughly 2 to 4% fat, compared to 20 to 30% in domesticated beef. And the fat profile is completely different. Wild animal fat is rich in omega-3 fatty acids, the same fats found in fish oil that modern people take as supplements. Ancient humans were not eating marbled steaks. They were eating lean, omega-3 rich muscle meat from animals that had spent their lives running across open landscapes. They also ate the parts you do not eat. Organ meats were prized above muscle meat in almost every hunter-gatherer culture ever studied. The liver, kidneys, heart, brain, bone marrow, and intestines were eaten first before muscle meat because early humans understood, without understanding the biochemistry, that these organs were nutrient-dense in ways that muscle meat was not. Liver is one of the most nutritionally complete foods in existence. Bone marrow is extraordinarily calorie-dense and rich in fat-soluble vitamins. The brain is high in DHA, the omega-3 fatty acid most critical for human cognitive function. Ancient humans were not just eating animals. They were eating all of the animal, and they were eating the most nutritious parts first. Plants. The evidence for significant plant consumption in ancient diets is just as strong as the evidence for meat. Dental calculus, the hardened plaque preserved on ancient teeth, has been analyzed from specimens across Africa, Europe, and Asia, and it consistently shows starch granules, plant fibers, and pollen from dozens of plant species. The remains of tubers, seeds, nuts, and berries have been found at ancient campsites on every inhabited continent. Tools for grinding plant foods appear in the archaeological record long before agriculture. Ancient humans were processing and eating plant foods, intensively, deliberately, and across a huge variety of species. The plants they ate were not the plants you find in a modern grocery store. Wild plants are fundamentally different from their domesticated counterparts. Wild berries are small, tart, and dense with polyphenol and antioxidants. Domesticated berries are large, sweet, and nutritionally diluted by breeding for size and sugar content. Wild tubers are fibrous, starchy, and low in sugar. Domesticated potatoes are soft, high in starch, and easy to digest in ways that wild tubers are not. Wild greens are bitter, tough, and packed with compounds that modern selective breeding has removed because consumers find them unpleasant. In almost every case, the ancestral version of a plant food was less sweet, less starchy, more fibrous, more bitter, and more nutritionally dense than its modern equivalent. Fiber. This is the piece of the ancestral diet that almost no one talks about, and it may be the most important. Anthropologist Jeff Leach, who studied the gut microbiome of the Hadza hunter-gatherers of Tanzania, found that they consume between 100 and 150 grams of fiber per day. The average person in the modern industrialized world consumes somewhere between 10 and 15 grams. Ancient humans were eating 10 times the fiber of their modern descendants, and that fiber was feeding an extraordinarily diverse community of gut bacteria. The human gut microbiome evolved in relationship with that fiber load. Remove the fiber and the microbiome changes dramatically, losing species, losing diversity, losing functions that evolved over millions of years to serve human health. Fermented foods. There is strong evidence that ancient humans consumed fermented foods long before anyone understood what fermentation was. Honey left in containers ferments naturally into mead. Fruit left in warm conditions ferments into alcohol. Animal products, fish, meat, milk in pastoral societies, ferment readily. The human liver has a remarkable capacity to metabolize alcohol, which some researchers argue evolved precisely because our ancestors regularly consumed fermented fruits and plant materials. Ancient humans were not deliberately brewing kombucha, but they were regularly consuming foods in various stages of natural fermentation, and their guts and livers evolved in relationship with those microbial products. Insects. This is the one that tends to generate the strongest reactions, but the evidence is clear. Insects were a significant food source for most human populations throughout most of human history, and they remain so for a large portion of the world's population today. Termites, grubs, beetles, ants, caterpillars, and grasshoppers are extraordinarily protein-rich, high in healthy fats, and packed with micronutrients including iron, zinc, and B12. Chimpanzees, our closest living relatives, actively seek out and eat insects, particularly termites. Dental analysis and archaeological remains from multiple sites show evidence of insect consumption in ancient human populations. The disgust modern Westerners feel toward eating insects is a cultural artifact, not a biological one. Seasonality. Perhaps the most profound difference between the ancestral diet and the modern one is not what ancient humans ate, but when and how consistently they ate it. Food was seasonal. Certain fruits were available for a few weeks in late summer and then gone. Honey was found rarely and consumed immediately. Large game hunts succeeded sometimes and failed other times. Tubers were available year-round in some environments but required hours of digging. Ancient humans did not eat the same foods every day. They ate what was available in the quantities available at the time it was available. This means ancient humans experienced regular periods of food scarcity, not starvation but genuine variability in caloric intake. They ate abundantly when food was plentiful and ate less when it was not. Their bodies were exquisitely adapted to this rhythm. The metabolic systems that govern how your body stores fat, releases energy, regulates hunger hormones, and responds to periods of reduced food intake all evolved in a context of variability. The modern food environment, in which any food in any quantity is available at any hour of any day, is so radically different from the environment those systems evolved in that they are essentially running the wrong program. There was no sugar, not in the quantities or forms that exist in the modern diet. Ancient humans encountered sweetness in fruit, in honey, and occasionally in certain roots. Honey was rare, seasonal, dangerous to obtain, and consumed with intensity when found. Fruit was seasonal, fibrous, and far less sweet than modern cultivated varieties. The total sugar load of the ancestral diet was a small fraction of what the average person in an industrialized country now consumes daily. Your brain's response to sugar, the dopamine hit, the craving, the override of fullness signals, evolved in a world where sweetness was a rare and precious signal of caloric density. It was not built for a world where sugar is in every processed food in every aisle of every store. There was no processed food. This seems obvious, but its implications run deeper than they appear. Processing does not just change the macronutrient profile of food. It changes the physical structure of food, breaking down fiber, predigesting starches, removing water, concentrating flavors, altering the rate at which nutrients are absorbed. Highly processed foods are absorbed faster, spike insulin harder, bypass satiety signals more effectively, and interact with gut bacteria differently than whole foods. The human digestive system evolved to process whole foods over hours. Ultra-processed foods move through that system in ways it was never designed to handle. What does all of this actually mean for how you eat today? Not that you should hunt your own deer or forage for wild tubers. The ancestral diet is not a prescription. It is a reference point. It tells you something about the conditions under which your digestive system, your metabolism, your hunger hormones, and your gut microbiome evolved. It tells you that your body was built for variety, for fiber, for whole foods, for metabolic flexibility, for periods of less as well as periods of plenty. It tells you that the foods your body handles best are not necessarily the ones that are most convenient, most processed, most engineered to be irresistible. Your body is not confused. It is not broken. It is running ancient code in a radically new environment. And the gap between the diet it evolved for and the diet most people eat today is one of the largest and most consequential mismatches in the entire history of the human species.